How's it going, everyone? Tim here, TRD Adventures. Hope everyone's all well out there. As always, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. I know it's been a little bit, but, life kind of happens, and I have been working on some builds silently in the background, and I have been acquiring some parts for a build, and that's what we have here today. The last couple pieces of the puzzle have showed up or will be showing up very shortly, so we can go ahead and get started on the next build that I'm excited to do here on the channel. And that build is this beautiful blue carbon fiber Reaper chassis from Corrupt Carbon Works. I'm very excited. This is a blue carbon weave here. It is available in several other colors and other materials as well. But I was very excited for this chassis and actually won this over on the Coast to Coast page. So definitely helped out getting this build underway was to get the chassis part going. So real quick, we'll kind of go over everything that I have going into this build. So starters, we have the Reaper chassis from Corrupt Carbon Works. And along with the chassis, it will also come with the shock towers for the chassis, and it will also come with a couple link risers that you can use if needed, depending on how far you take your build. So we have those. And then also from Corrupt Carbon Works and Fish Crawler Parts is an angled flat skid with SCX10 bolt patterns that can go on either side. Now I say angled because you can kind of see here in this picture, this is angled. So when the chassis is mounted in, this angle helps keep the transmission and the rest of the driveline at a good angle. Now the reason for that is with this Reaper chassis, we notice here we have an angled skid. This is a 12-degree angle skid. It is very aggressive. A lot of your standard skids and chassis you see out there about 6-7 degrees. This is 12. This is one of few that have an aggressive skid of this style. So like I said, I'm very excited to get this chassis together. I have several friends that have ran this chassis and told me I need to try one for a while, and it's been on the list. It's just been getting everything going and rocking and rolling. So here we are. In addition to those chassis pieces, let's go ahead and take a look at the driveline I'll be using. So I will be using a OG Team Yellowjacket transfer case. Now this is 0% overdrive, and I will also be using a Team Yellowjacket Ford motor mount. And I will be using a 48 pitch spur gear, 87 tooth count on there, and then I will select pinion to match. We'll be using these Vidavon AR45 axles. Again, this is not a brass axle, this is gold anodizing. Stock internals for the most part, minus the gears. Front and rear portal gears are the Team Yellowjacket super shafted gears, standard ratio in the rear, and mild overdrive portal gears in the front, which equates to about 25% overdrive, which is hence why I wanted to run a 0% transfer case, is because, again, my overdrive is coming out of this axle. Now, the Reaper chassis does have a chassis mounted servo option, but I opted not to use that in this build. I'm going to go with axle mounted servo. To accomplish that is this awesome alloy servo mount from Boco RC or 1/10 scale RC. They offer a variety of servo mounts for a variety of axles and also other electronics and stuff as well. So great company and a great guy to deal with. So definitely, if you're looking for some servo mount options, definitely check them out for sure. This build will be my specific class 2 cash comp rig for a local area and other areas I need to travel, or more so in the P-scale comp. Similar to like I've gone to King, Missouri and Crawlapalooza, circle points aren't a thing necessarily. It's mostly just let's check some items and make sure everything's legal as far as actual build wise. So don't have to chase points. Now to connect all that, we have some custom high clearance links from In the Works RC. I believe I selected 12.5 inch wheelbase is what I'm going to go with here on this build. That's just kind of my preferred wheelbase for class 2. I like that 12.5, maybe 12.7 range. That's just a sweet spot for me and my drive style. From In the Works RC, we have the 80mm big bore shocks. First up, I'm going to go ahead and get the links into the skid, to the chassis and the axles, and then we will come back and see how everything goes, and I'll show you where all my placements and everything are. So on the Corrupt Carbon Works website, which I will link to it below, here is a very good kind of walkthrough with both the Reaper V2 and the Razor's Edge, which is what my class 1 is. And I will link this in the description below. But right here, it goes through a good description, talks about the Reaper, the reasons for its design and benefits of certain things, such as that 12-degree skid that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And then also down below, it'll start going through, the materials that each chassis is offered in, the benefits of them, and which chassis material would best suit you for your plans with the build. and then even just goes through talking about Ford motor mounts, chassis mounted servos, axial mounted servos, links, and gives you breakdowns and reasons for each one, and even gives you a parts list to kind of follow through. And that will help you just kind of also just narrow down parts. Okay, if I want to build one of these, what all do I need? And you can start checking off and then seeing what all you have and stuff like that. So definitely very good to have there on the website. And on the CarMorks fan page on Facebook, at the very top, they have a feature section for each chassis they offer, like the Reaper V2, the Razor's Edge, the Ninja, and stuff like that. And it is posts of people showing off each of their builds, what all they have into them. So you can take a scroll through this, say you want to build a Reaper. So then you can click on that Reaper post and kind of just scroll through the comments, see what everyone's coming up with on the Reaper, which axle combinations, which transmission, transfer case, and etc. Stuff like that can really just help kind of get a build flowing. So without further ado, here is the Reaper V2 ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and put the tires on it and then start working on the body, and then we'll move down onto electronics. And real quick, while we're talking about electronics, what all am I going to be putting in here? So servo wise here in the front, we will be rocking the Three Brothers RC G14 servo. And then for motor and ESC, we're going to be pulling out the good old trusty Mamba Micro X ESC, and then we're going to be pairing that with a 1500 kV Yellowjacket, also from Three Brothers RC. Just a nice, simple, proven electronics combo that's always done well for me. And real quick, we'll just kind of talk about the general construction of the chassis here. It went together, as you can see, like with the shock towers and everything. It is very, very similar to the Razor's Edge. This is obviously just far more aggressive of a chassis. We have the shock towers here, points towards the end. Right here in the front, we have some mounts there for the Team Garage Hack Ford motor mount that accommodates for it in both the standard and the mirrored position. And then back here, we also have multiple mounting options for the rear shock towers, depending on your wheelbase and setup like that. Now, like I mentioned, the kit also comes with some link risers. Again, depending on the setup that you're going for. I did not need them at this point. I'm not using the additional link risers, but tuning in time will tell on that. Overall construction went together really, really well there. One thing here I mentioned, especially with this chassis, one thing for sure you want to get is the skid plate. This is an angled SCX 10 style skid plate. And by angled is the skid sets like this, but then where your transmission mounts, it is raised up to help with that aggressive skid angle and keep the drivetrain on a more level playing field and make sure all your angles and everything there are good. Everything there went pretty well. I did have to mess with and do a little customization here on a couple of links, mostly because of the options that I went with. I chose to go with axial mounted servo, which meant I was going to be 4-link in the front, and I also have the Team Garage Hack transfer case and Ford motor mount that I wanted to use on this build. I had to do a little bit of work because how the transfer case and everything sets, that is right where my links and everything need to come through. So I had to do a little, it's not the prettiest, but we got out the inductor tool and we made some very aggressive bends there on the link. I was able to kind of bend and curve the link around the drive shaft, so everything cleared there. Then I also brought it to the outside and put it on the outside of the rail. So also now it is out of the way of the drive shaft and out of the way of the spur gear. Then on the other side, I just simply took the outer link and instead of mounting it to the inside, I mounted it to the outside and everything cleared there for like when my motor and everything's at full compression. That is simply because I worked with what I had. I already had the Ford motor mount and the transfer case set up. When I got all the chassis and everything coming, I was excited. I did forget to order the chassis mounted servo, but I also remembered I already had an axial mounted servo for these axles, so I was like, I'm gonna make it work. That's just some of the fun I have in these builds is, okay, is this supposed to work? Probably not. Can I make it work? Yes. And it is gonna work out, I think, very, very well. Everything there, I still have full function. Everything moves freely as it should, so I'm definitely excited to get this out. And for the rest of construction here, I have some 75mm chassis spacers here, just some red ones that I had laying around in my drawer. I think I honestly just got them off Amazon, just some M3 chassis spacers in whatever millimeter matches the chassis there. I'm going to throw some tires on it and get the body mounted. So the Reaper is officially all finished and ready to rock and roll and get out on the rocks. So the last little bits here, we got all the electronics all in and mounted, wires tucked and zip tied away as best I could. Here for the battery tray, I'm using one of the brazen mounts for the Team Garage Hack transmissions. This one here is made for the OG transfer case. They also make them for the 2-low and the Creeper T, and they're great. They attach right to the transmission using the existing bolts and everything, so you just simply pull out a couple and position it however you want, and I put it kind of right here. I'm going to be running super small batteries with this, so I'm not too overly concerned about the weight there. The drive shafts and everything in, we have a precision drive shaft here in the front and a good old trusty wild bore here in the rear. Just a metal prop shaft here in the front. It was just an extra one that I had, and it happened to be the right length. I'm waiting for some of the extra ones to come back in stock, which they are cut to fit. And wheels and tires on here, we have the gold axle, so we went with the gold V3s from Super Shafty. These are 2.2 wheels, and I have 1.9 stretched onto the 2.2s. We've seen this tire and wheel combination I've used on several of my other rigs. And then I actually did change out one of the front chassis races here. I just had a stock bumper. I think it came off a RC full drive C2X actually, but it actually fit right there. Had the right width and everything. Just wanted a little something there, and then also with the holes that it already has drilled into it, I can run a winch line through it and everything like that. So that is actually the last thing that I will be doing here. At some point, once I pick up another winch, we'll get a winch in here, mount it up, and get it ready to rock and roll. Got the body and everything mounted up, and getting it attached relatively simple. I just took some regular axial posts there and used 2 screws, and they lined up perfectly here in the shock tower. So I got those bolted on there and secured, and here in the front I used some of the G-Speed body post mounts and got those also mounted to the shock towers, and got everything there looking good. The body went with the JConcepts Junior Mortician body, which is just one of my favorite bodies, and the aggressive cuts and everything on here really flow well with the Reaper. Can't really see it much here in the light, but I did go with the color change paint from Spaz6. This is gold, green, orange, and purple. Right there is what I used, and in the sunlight it really does pop in the sunlight, and you can see the color transition very, very well in the actual natural sunlight. And then finished off, I had some skull stencils, so we got those in there, hit those with mirror chrome finish, and then top the roof off with the Team Garage Hack vinyl wraps that they've been offering. There it is, body and everything mounted on there. Everything there came out really good. Everything still at the set down nice and low, have some aggressive angles. I don't think I'm going to worry about sliders or anything on this particular build, at least not at this current time. Weather looks promising this weekend, so I will get this out, try to get some good running footage and my overall thoughts and everything, and we'll throw that in the next episode. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have been interested in a Reaper build or anything like this, I hope this helps you in some way. It has been a build that I've been wanting to get knocked out of the way for some time, and luckily was able to get everything wrapped up and get it done and ready to rock and roll. Like I mentioned before in the video, in the description below, I linked the Corrupt Carmworks website. On there has all the chassis and also that helpful section to help you go through your builds and stuff like that. And also I'll get everything linked here that I used in my build. So in the meantime, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel down below if you haven't already. And until next time, everyone, have a great one. Crawl on.